What's up, and welcome to the Little Wise Guys podcast. I'm your host, Eslam, aka Rock God of the Sun, accompanied by Dan, Papa Sun Killer, and Dan Emperor Disco. Sorry, Dan, I cut you off, but I was
It's
already
fine.
in the
It's
middle
fine.
of pressing the
No,
button.
it's not even.
I
So
couldn't take it back.
all I wanted to say is my PC has like a light that's emanating.
Oh,
It's glowing. It's fine
yeah,
though,
I
right?
could
Is
Like
it
see it.
green?
it's green,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
not. Okay,
No, it's not showing up on your
That's the
ish.
that's the new PC.
Yeah.
it's the new PC.
Oh snap! Is it
I named
faster?
it.
Like
I named it. So
you
I was like,
named it?
this is a big beefy boy. I like to name my items. Like because there's like, what do
It
you want to
sounds like
call
a
this?
sandwich.
Yeah, so
Triple B.
so I said no. So it's like it's big and beefy, and I was like, there was a while ago where I had a laptop and I named it Urameshi.
Ooh.
And I was just
Oh
like, this
okay.
is big and beefy. This is Kuwabara. So
Yeah.
that's what I went with on this one.
Oh, interesting,
Yeah.
interesting.
Okay.
The
Okay.
Why Yu Yu Hakusho? I don't know.
Well, since you brought it up, Nadia and I finally finished it, and it's interesting because I was saying in the last episode that not the last episode, but whatever the one
Whenever we
before that
covered it,
we talked about it a little bit, like that they compressed everything, but they did change up that last tournament. Like spoilers, Taguro died. Um,
Oh, I didn't finish
s-
it, so appreciate it.
yeah, you're welcome. Um,
yeah, they like went all the way. I mean, I could see.
So I
I don't know.
thought they were gonna kill him like they killed him in the show, and then they'll meet up with him
Like
again.
the elder Tagoro brother?
The
Yeah,
well, they
the
both
older
died.
brother. Well,
Okay.
actually, yeah,
I
they
remember
both.
the younger one,
Spoilers.
he
They both.
yeah. Yeah, I know the younger one dies and the older one gets pissed and he comes
Yeah,
back with a
Yeah.
vengeance.
yeah. So yeah, it was just like it was weird. So I don't really know where they're gonna go with the second
I
season if
remember
they're not gonna
in
do
the
that like Demon World tournament.
I
But
remember in the anime, he was like, it was like a big deal for him. His power level, he was like, now I'm at 50%, and then
yeah,
he's like, I'm at 75%. You see his collarbones and everything
yeah,
change. They kind of like brushed through like a lot of the little things that I like kind of
yeah,
remember. They kind of just, I mean, overall, I did enjoy it for what it was, but
yeah.
uh, there was definitely a lot of condensation, which
That's
honestly,
not the word,
I
but okay.
Yeah, what were you trying to say?
condensing
Okay. Yeah.
condensation.
Yeah, condensation is very different. I was like, okay, so it's water forming on the outside of the glass. Okay, I got you.
There's a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, yeah, I don't even know what I said. That totally just threw off my train of thought.
They were
Sorry.
condensing. They were condensing a lot.
They did
that
condense a
they
lot.
they evaporated most of the storyline.
Well, Taguro
Yeah,
definitely
that works. Too.
evaporated at the
That
end.
works. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah, I'll
man.
get around to finishing that show at some point, like the live action one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I
as the
just wanted
next
to bring
piece
that
of
up.
tech
So
is going to be Karama.
it's gonna be because like so I guess in the original show the guys didn't fight his crew really. His
Mm.
crew shows up in the demon tournament, and that's when they fight each other, and everybody wins. But all those fights happen now, so I wonder if they're just gonna skip Tagoro as the villain again and go to someone else in that tournament.
They could always bring him back.
Yeah, sure they can.
They
I
could
mean,
always bring him back.
the way it ended, I don't know how, but I mean, it's always possible.
We'll
Didn't
see. And then
Yusuke go
just
to
bring
the
him back.
demon world and become like a demon with long hair? What if they like just jump to that thing?
So you find out later that he does have demon blood in him, and his father is like an S-class demon, one of like the four like lords, I guess,
Mhm.
of like the demon world, and um, blah blah blah. But yeah, so yeah, let's not really get into this.
Yeah.
It's not a Yu Yu Hakusho episode. It's an episode about the Iron Claw, and the movie about the Von Erichs family, the wrestling family, and the tragedy that has befallen that family.
The
And
curse.
like,
It's
yeah, the
legit
curse.
called the Curse of the Von
Yeah,
Erichs. Like
yeah,
that's been around for years. That
and
word.
it was a wild movie. It was very emotional. I definitely teared up a little bit, as we were saying earlier,
Yeah.
and my God, that was a sad movie to watch.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It didn't really concentrate on the wrestling, like the wrestling in the ring was very minimal. It was more about the story of like their life outside the ring.
Yep.
Um, and that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting to see something like Heels, the
Oh, okay.
show,
Yeah.
something more revolving around the ring,
This is
but
about family.
no, it wasn't, and it was a pleasant surprise. I'm not saying that as it was a bad movie, but I definitely enjoyed it. It's sad as fuck, and I'm not gonna. Uh, can you guys hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, your
Okay,
house burning.
I guess
You
so.
can finish the episode. You'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
I mean, do you want to go check on that?
no, no, Nadia's baking
Okay.
cookies.
I just hope
Um,
she's okay. You know.
yeah, yeah, she's fine. She's fine. Our
Um,
our our alarm is very sensitive,
okay.
so
I mean, I just want to make sure that she's not just like dying, wishing you would come, and here
no,
you are on the
she's fine.
podcast.
I mean, she
Okay.
has a
You see
cold, but she's
smoke
fine.
start wafting in. His house is burning.
Yeah.
He's
She's
like, it's
okay.
fine.
Yeah,
She's
guys,
okay.
guys, this happens
Everything's
every
fine.
day.
Don't worry.
Um, but yeah. So it's a very sad story. A lot of death and sadness, and two very very cold parents.
Mm.
Um, I feel like it could have been avoided if they were like more open and at least some of the deaths, but my God, were they cold? Holy shit! Like that old school mentality of like,
Mhm.
don't cry, don't show any emotion, just keep it
Mhm.
bottled in until you kill yourself. You know what I mean? So,
Mhm.
um,
Literally.
yeah. So it was, it
That's
was,
just
it was
how it
hard.
was back then, though. Like zero emotional intelligence, just
Yeah,
like
it was like so, which made that last scene like so much more powerful.
Mhm.
Um, and we'll get into a little bit of the details later. But that's my thoughts on the movie. I did love it. It was a great film. All the actors were just phenomenal. Um, they all did a really great job. So yeah, it was very much enjoyable. Dan, I'm gonna keep you for last, so Disco's gonna go next,
Okay.
and then you can take over after that.
Sure.
me. Just a little background. I had no idea who the Von Erichs were.
Me either, yeah.
Um, I had no idea about the curse, and honestly, I didn't even really know what the movie was about. But after watching it, I actually saw it twice, and once by myself and one with my girlfriend, and it was it was definitely a melancholy movie, not for the faint of heart. If you
No.
don't like that type of emotional, resonance where it's like, if you're too manly to cry or something, you might not like this movie because it does have some moments where that'll have you like your eyes watering and it's just like what's happening? But that one thing that I really liked about this is that immediately I could just tell it was not written. Like, I mean, it was written, but like it was not the typical story. Like this, that's kind of like I guess how I knew it was based off like real life, because it was just so kind of dark and just a lot of characters were dying, and it it was just really really interesting, and it almost kind of especially the mental health and the interactions between the family. It almost reminded me of like The Bear with Jeremy Allen White. It kind
Was
of
Mm,
in this
like he
movie.
broken exactly, and that's
Mhm.
exactly why I'm bringing it up because it kind of I feel like he maybe influenced or just brought that kind of like realness. It feels like a real genuine family, like just everyone loves each other, but they're kind of broken, and it's like they don't know how to express their feelings for each other at certain points. But I definitely got some Bear influences, and I just want to give it up to all the actors as well. Zac Efron got super stacked. I was like,
yeah.
what? He was just
He
like came
always
out and
gets
had
like in
had
great
the
shape.
whole body just
Yeah.
ripped
Yeah.
He was
size,
like
tone.
big, big. Like I've never
Yeah.
seen
He
him
was
this
huge.
big. Like he's been cut
Yeah.
and ripped before. Like this
Yeah.
was just like he put on mass.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And I
crazy.
don't know if he got like makeup or whatever, but I was reading online that he like had an injury or something, like broke his jaw, and like that's
Mm.
kind of why like
Is
his
that why he was so square?
yeah, I don't know if that's real or if he just got
He
cosmetic or
he
whatever,
was
but I don't know
really
why.
square.
I don't
His
know why
jaw,
he would get
dude, he looked like the
cosmetic.
Crimson Chin out
He
there,
was really
bro.
square
Like,
in this movie.
Yeah, I don't know why you would opt to turn into that, but like, so I feel like it was kind of like an accident. And that's just
Mm.
how it came out. But I think it totally worked for this role. It made him seem totally like a wrestler, a butch wrestler, just ready to just kind of muscle everything out. And overall, it was just a phenomenal movie, great acting, kind of long. It was like 2 hours, 2 hours and some change, but overall, I think the payoff is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, the actors are phenomenal. The story is very interesting. It's not the run of the mill. It's it's very dark, and that's also what draws me to it. The darkness. It's like you go to Marvel, you go anywhere, you see stories. There are people dying, but just not like this.
Doesn't hit like
And
this.
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't hit like this, and the way they died is just from the oldest brother to the one brother with the intestines to the mental
Hmm.
health death. Like it's just like all over the
There's a
board.
lot.
It's like no no holds bars. The Grim Reaper is just going balls to the walls, and I
Hmm.
guess that's where the curse comes from. So
Mm-hmm.
overall, the movie got me. That last scene was just the tipping point. It had me crying. So it was a beautiful movie, beautiful piece, and it makes you like cherish life and kind of experience how life changes. Because back then there was like I said, zero emotional intelligence. So like it's hard for people to help each other. It's like I know you're hurting, but I don't know what the hell to do. Like now everything's on the internet, so you can like how can I help somebody? You can YouTube it. Like you can YouTube anything. So it's you just kind of see the difference between the time era, the eras, and all of that. It's just a really great piece, in my opinion. So much to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that just for now. Start.
Yeah. For me, I won't get into like the nitty gritty, what was real, what was embellished, stuff like that, what was left out. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I enjoy the movie. Biased, it's wrestling. I like wrestling a lot. So I went in like I was like, okay, when I many months, maybe over a year ago now, no, definitely over a year ago, on an episode of Powerbomb Weekly, I did bring up, hey, they're making this movie called The Iron Claw, and I remember I put a picture of uh, Zach Efron as
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Von Erich, where he was wearing some Daisy Duke short shorts and a really tight shirt, and he looked like Lou Ferrigno in The Incredible Hulk. And I remember showing it to you guys, and you guys laughing, and of course, you guys being who you are, you have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about right
Nope.
now. Exactly.
I dead ass don't remember that. You you have to pull
You
that episode number up.
anybody who wants to go back on YouTube, search Los Wise guys, and it's in there. And it's out on there. It's in one of the episodes. But anyway, I talked about this movie a long time ago. I was like, I can't wait. They're going to talk about one of the most heartbreaking stories in all of the history of professional wrestling, the curse of the Von Erichs, and we're going to go from there. And I feel like they did do a good job. It was dramatized in certain aspects, but there were some things that are a lot more sad that they didn't even do in this
Mm.
movie. The story is worse than this.
Wow.
But yeah, for the most part, I did like it. And yeah, I'll be giving you guys some tidbits on stuff that was going on in that time period in the
Yes.
wrestling world.
So I guess so. The Von Erichs, like the father started the wrestling
Curse, yep.
family empire, you can say, and his mindset was they kept taking the title away from me. They never wanted to give it to me. He had this mentality of it was
They never
his
wanted him
right.
on top.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was his right to hold that world title,
Hmm.
but he was never given it to. So in his despair, in his like anger, he drove his sons and he wanted to live through them to get that title. And through that there was just a lot of coldness from him. And usually when something like this happened, we've seen before, usually like the mother will be more on
Hmm.
the softer side, at least that way there's some balance, right? The father's cold, but like the
Yeah.
mother will be more loving and warm and stuff. But on this case she was also cold.
Hmm.
And whether it's because they lost their first son early and she kind of got closed off, but like when there was a scene when Kevin came to his mother while she was getting ready, and he was like, "Hey, you need to tell Dad to like back off of Mike a little bit," and she said that's between them,
That's between them. Yeah.
you
I
know.
remember that.
And then there was another scene when towards the end when Carrie was like telling Kevin that he wanted to die, and he called his father. He's like, "Hey, watch him because he's saying this," and he's like, the father's like, "You guys need to work this out yourselves," and it's
Mhm.
like that was so like
Yeah.
heartbreaking and wild to me. Like your son called you about your other son, telling you, "Hey, he's not feeling good. He's saying a lot of crazy things. He's at your house, so just like watch him until I get there in the morning," and he ends up offing himself, and
Yeah.
it was very sad. And, and Kevin almost killed his father, like almost
Yeah.
Dude, I thought he was gonna go all the way. It's just like
yeah,
there goes the whole Von Erich family except him.
Yeah.
Like,
So that's some stuff they did change a little bit. So for real quick, Kevin Von Erich still alive to this day.
yeah.
Um,
oh,
he has two sons. They're the Von Erichs. They wrestle. They've
Hmm.
wrestled a lot in Japan and done a couple other things. I want to say they made a couple episodes, appearances on like Ring of Honor.
Mm.
So he has these two sons. They're tag team. One of his sons even wrestles barefoot like he did back in the
Oh
day.
wow.
So it's pretty
Okay.
cool. But anyway, so the Von Erichs were never interviewed or
Hmm.
talked about in the making of this movie. The
Oh,
ones that were alive.
interesting.
So there it was a bunch of people from like British people that were just like, hey, we're fans of wrestling. We're fans of this story. Not fans of the story, but we think it's a heartbreaking story that people who don't know wrestling would appreciate what's going on, and we could make it into a story. It's like, hey,
So I
mental health
wonder
is
how they
important.
got the rights to make this movie.
They're just telling a story. They're
Sure, but
telling a
they're
story about a
using
family.
their
Well,
name
remember
instead.
they did the same thing about Mike Tyson. Remember Mike Tyson? They made that show, and he was
Uh-huh.
just like, "I'm not even getting a penny
oh
of
yeah,
this."
the one on
It can be
Hulu.
Oh.
done. You're just telling
Oh
a
yeah.
story about what's going on. It's like you
Yeah.
don't have to get their rights. You're just
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know. But anyway, when the Von Erichs found out, they did contact them, like Kevin specifically, and it was just like, hey, I don't know what's going on. I just want to make sure nothing's done in a bad light or anything. And they got to see like a private screening. They had a relationship with them, but they didn't have any input on the movie.
Okay.
Kevin did say he likes it. He likes how they really show the camaraderie, especially with the brothers.
The
He's like
brothers.
that
Yeah.
was all accurate. We loved each other more
Yeah.
than anything in the world. He did say that they did paint his father in a much harsher light than he really was.
Okay.
But a lot of what they said did was true. Like Fritz legitimately had his favorites,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
would tell them, "I have my favorites,
Oh
but
yeah, he
the
was like the
favorites can
lineup
always
could
change," and
change
it's true.
anytime. I was like,
And,
that's wild, bro.
and Kevin's just
We
like,
all
"That was
know
real."
this is my favorite. Yeah, when
Yeah,
I was watching that with my girl, we were both like,
that's
"Ooh,
crazy.
That's
take notes.
wild,
That's
bro.
how I'm gonna do
But
it."
yeah, it was legit. That was a thing. And Kevin's like, he did say that, and
Has a
it
fucking
was a
ranking board in the
yeah.
house.
It was oh Mike going back down. Sorry, but yeah. So there was that. But he did say that his dad was like that. But his dad did take everything hard. His dad wasn't as cold as they were in the movie, but
Mm,
he understands it's Hollywood. They're going to dramatize it.
yeah.
So there is that. And just a real quick note for anybody who cares, there is a documentary
Hmm.
called. So there's Dark Side of the Ring, which is a documentary series that they're about to start season 4 in a month or two. Best wrestling documentary ever. I think it was season 2 or maybe season 3. They did a whole episode on the Curse of the Von Erichs.
Mm.
I highly, highly suggest that to anybody who enjoyed this movie. Go ahead and watch it. It's like a 45-minute documentary. Great.
I don't know
So
if I can handle that right now.
yeah,
I
I
might need
know.
some
Well,
time.
yeah,
I might need some time.
I know because I was talking to Rudy about this stuff yesterday because he had just seen the movie too. Said same things you guys. Hey, great movie, sad movie. I was like, hey, here's the link. This is the documentary. They put the whole thing on YouTube. Even I was just like,
Yeah.
it's there. Go ahead and watch it. It's a
Yeah.
great documentary. But yeah, so there were some changes there. There are many more that go in there, but I just wanted to break it down. So it's like some stuff did change. As a matter of fact, Carrie, when he died, the person who found him was Fritz. It wasn't
Oh.
Kevin.
Okay.
Yeah, Fritz was the person who found him. And then yeah, there was some drama and stuff like that. But yeah, obviously for the movie they're gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
embellish a little. Yeah. But yeah, how do you want to do this? You want to?
Yeah. So, the story, it's pretty much the son's trying to appease the father, trying to gain his affection and attention, most of all, and each one
Work your
trying
way
to
up the
go.
ranking.
Yeah, each one, and he's kind of like he kind of decides their paths for them. Like none of them are like taking their own path except maybe Mike, who wants to do music, and then he still gets roped into wrestling. And it's crazy that he gets in the ring, he gets like the shoulder injury, gets a crazy infection, messes up his brain, and then he ends up, you know,
Yeah.
offing himself by taking pills, and he writes a suicide note. And
Yeah.
then also Carrie writes a suicide note, and he's just like, I'm gonna go be with my brothers. And that was crazy sad. And
Especially that scene where they showed him crossing the river too,
yeah,
and
yeah, to
like
his
he
brothers,
put the
and he
coin
meets
down, and
his
then
his
the older brother who's like a kid. Oh
yeah,
Yeah.
man,
It's
his
like,
he meets his
where's
two.
Jack? And then
Yeah,
yeah, there he
Jack
is.
Jr. And I was just like, oh my god, this is wild, bro. And like they all embrace each other, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I was like,
It's
you guys need
it's
to
not
calm the
good.
fuck down with this movie, bro.
So one thing I wanna mention, like I said, it's worse. They never talked about Chris Von Erich, the other brother who killed himself before Carrie did.
Which one is
Um,
Chris?
he
He
wasn't in the
was.
the music
movie.
one.
Oh
Oh
no!
man,
Wow.
There's another Von Erich who was
Yeah.
a wrestler who did kill himself.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chris was younger than Mike.
Okay.
And After Mike got hurt and Mike had killed himself,
Hmm.
Chris, who when he was younger, he had suffered from asthma really bad,
Yeah.
so he had like brittle bones and stuff like that, and he had a stunted growth and everything. So
Hmm.
he was big for somebody his size, but just physically, he just couldn't do it,
Yeah.
and he would get a bunch of injuries and stuff, and he killed himself.
Oh.
And then later on, Carrie
Yeah.
killed himself the same way, where they shot themselves. Like Chris, it was weird. In the documentary, I remember them talking about it, where he was out by like a lake, and Kevin was out there talking to him. Was like, "Hey, listen, don't do anything crazy. This, that, and the other." And then he's like, "Don't worry about it, Kev. I'm not gonna do anything. I'm not stupid." And then he left, and then something about he had left a note where he was going to take some pills, and then next thing you know, they heard a gunshot. So I think I don't know if he took pills and then just shot
Yeah.
himself anyway or something along those lines. But yeah, he did kill himself by the lake. And Kevin went back. He was like, I was just talking to him. I just told him not to do anything stupid, and then I should have stayed. I don't know why I walked
Yeah.
away. So he was still guilty,
Yeah.
feeling guilty
so
about that.
Uh,
three of the brothers ended up killing themselves. Wow,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is a curse, man. That's
And then
that's
like,
that's crazy.
and
yeah,
then the other one who had a ruptured intestine, and I was like,
David.
that's wild. Yeah. Is that from like a wrestling injury, or is it from like the drugs or
No,
whatever?
he just had some type of infection going on that he just wasn't treating.
Oh.
And that's
Man,
the thing. When they were
it
talking
was
about when they
super
were doing the
sad.
yeah.
You can finish.
No, I was just saying when they were doing that wedding scene and he was
Yeah.
sick. I was like, "Oh fuck." And then he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to Japan." I'm like, "Oh fuck, we're
Yeah.
getting there." And then it's like especially once they do that and then they cut to like everybody dancing and then they finish on David and he's the last one dancing. I was
Yeah.
like, "Okay, they're about to transition into the death of David Von Erich."
Yeah.
And that's where we went. I was like, "Oh man, this is it." So yeah, when he died, he was found in a hotel room by Bruiser Brody, another badass wrestler who actually got killed in Puerto Rico. That was a whole nother thing.
Wow.
Yeah, so he was the one who found the body. He notified the people, and Ric Flair back in the day, he was the one who said, "Yeah, he probably died because of an overdose," and Bruiser Brody hid all the evidence to make it look like that wasn't the case. And then the Von Erichs were like, "No, that's bullshit. David didn't do anything. He didn't do drugs." And that's why when I think they talk about it real quick in the movie, they're just like, here is the autopsy report. He didn't do drugs. He was because that was like a big thing where just
Yeah.
Ric Flair just talking out of turn. They're just like, no, that's bullshit. We're gonna at least at the very least not desecrate David Von Erich's name.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot to it
Man,
there.
yo, it's so crazy. It's
I
just
was like I was
it's
saying before though. It was sad um when he had wrote the letter for shits and giggles to his brother, and then he died, and it's just like I'm probably gonna be home before this gets there, and then it ended up being like this really sad moment where like his brother's dead, and he's over here like catching up about Japan, and it's like, oh shoot,
Yeah,
uh, it was like a lot of good writing. I really like those kind of like big moments.
yeah,
yeah, it's also crazy just like for the parents also they lost what, five sons?
yeah,
That's just five kids,
yeah,
let alone one. Five. Oh my God, I
yeah,
can't even imagine the pain that is. Because even at the end, the mother was just like, I'm painting. He's like, Did you make, where's dinner? She's like, I didn't make any. I'm not hungry.
yeah.
And it's just like, it's
They
just,
just broke it down at this point. Just
yeah,
like
it's just like, oh
yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
It's so rough.
So in the movie they don't talk about it. Eventually, the parents divorce.
Yeah.
Fritz dies of cancer.
Jesus,
Yeah.
bro, this just keeps getting
Yo, they
worse.
really were cursed.
When I tell you, it's like the true story is worse than
My
like
God,
this. You guys saw like the Curse of Von Erich's light. Like you didn't even see like
did
everything else that
someone
happens.
literally put like a voodoo curse on him? Like, what happened?
So
What Native American fucking like resting place did they
yeah.
bulldoze and build their house on? Like, Jesus.
So the thing is, the curse of the Von Erichs was around, and I think they talk about it in the movie. It was like Fritz's mother's name or something like that.
Yeah, I think
That
it's his
wasn't
grandmother's name or something. I don't know.
so that's not exactly true. It's in a sense it was. It was just like a relative of a relative used the Von Erich, so he adopted the Von Erich name. But they had stuff where it's just like they had people who I don't know if they was committed suicide or they just died young or something like
Mhm.
that, or they gotten sick, and that's where it was just like yeah, the curse was like kind of just a thing from there. And it was just like, yeah, it's a thing. And then when Jack Jr. dies, they're just like, oh, it sucks because he was with him. It's sad because I don't know if they really explained it well in the movie. I can't
No, they
remember. I saw the
didn't.
movie a while ago. So he was. That's back when they were living in their mobile home when they were just travel from town to town when
Yeah.
Fritz was still wrestling. And he was walking home from school or something, and there was snow on the road. So as he was walking, he touched something on one of the mobile homes, like in a trailer park they were staying at
Yeah.
temporarily. He got electrocuted, and then he fell face first in the snow and drowned.
Oh,
That's how Jack Jr. died.
Jesus, bro.
Yeah,
Come
Dude,
on, man.
yeah,
dude, that's the
Yo.
worst luck, yo.
I
Oh
know,
my god.
dude. The Von Erichs, it's no joke. Um,
Which is like Kevin, when he had his firstborn, he changed the last name. And
at
he,
that point, can you blame him?
no, I don't blame
You
him.
know, it's like after everything that's happened, it's just like, yo, it's insane.
Like it's wild. And he was so scared, like to hold the baby. He's like, I don't want to pass on this curse. Like, I don't want to give him his curse. And
Oh yeah, that was sad. He was staying away from the family, like it was really
yeah,
getting to him. That
Yeah,
he
he
was
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 like,
just
like,
terrified for his children's life.
yeah, I mean, I would be too, bro, if I thought there was this fucking like curse looming over myself and my family. But let's get to my
Yeah.
saddest scene, bro, which
Oh yeah.
was when he was at the end after Carrie passed, and he's just sitting there watching his sons play together,
Yeah. This is
oh
it.
man,
This
and
is
that
he
it.
was it.
starts bawling, bro,
Yeah.
and I was just like they didn't even have to explain it. I understood it.
Mhm.
And then his sons came and they were like, "What's wrong, Daddy?" And he was just like, I used to be a brother, and now I'm not a brother anymore. And I was like, "Oh my god,
Yeah,
oh
they're
my
like,
god."
we'll be your
That
brothers, Dad. I was
sentence
like,
is
oh,
so
that's
sad.
the
They were
one that
like,
got me. I was like, there. I was like, fuck, I can't.
and they were like, "We'll be your brothers, Daddy." I was like, "Oh," I was like,
That
"Oh my
was
god."
So
heartbreaking.
pure. Oh
That was
man.
heartbreaking.
And it
That
was just
line.
like it was that, and like he was just like, "I'm sorry that you guys have to see me like this. You shouldn't see me like this. Like a
Yeah.
man doesn't cry." And they're like, "What are you talking about, man? Just cry. We cry all the time." And it's just
Yeah,
like
we cry.
like that, like Disco said, like the pure innocence of like children, like
Yeah,
they don't really judge like that at that age. So, oh man, that was such a
They were so
heartbreaking
supportive
that scene
scene.
too.
Yeah,
hurt, man.
bro,
That
he's
scene
like, I used to
hurt.
be a brother, and now and 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 just, I mean, you see it throughout the whole movie, the bond and how much like they loved and supported each other as brothers. And even when the father was like doing the whole ranking thing and he pushed David instead of Kevin for the
Yeah,
title, like Kevin's like, I sure he was upset, but he didn't like cut off his brother or whatnot.
they're still supportive of each other.
They still supported him, and they all supported each other. And then
Yeah,
just that, oh man, that must have been so heartbreaking.
yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I on the brighter side
Yeah.
of what's going on. So one thing I do want to talk about is the so they were the what was it WCCW World Class
Something like
Championship
that.
Wrestling. Yeah,
Yeah.
WCCW. That was the name of the company that Fritz was running. So the way it worked at that time period, for example, that was before WWF and Vince.
Hmm.
So what
Yeah.
happened was there was the territories where that's why he was always talking about they never wanted to push me. They had this thing called the NWA,
Yeah.
not the rap group. This was first,
Yeah.
the National Wrestling Alliance, where you would have a traveling. So you had all these different territories with different wrestlers, but you had one world champion that would travel to the territories and wrestle,
Mm.
and that was like the guy.
Yeah.
So it would be Harley Race, it would be Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, something like that. And Fritz was like, "They're never giving it to me. This is bullshit." So when he made enough money, you did what wrestlers back then did. You buy up a place, you create your own territory, and you try to make that territory the best so you can try to make one of your people or
Hmm.
yourself, if you're still wrestling, the world champion, the NWA world champion. So he comes up with WCCW. He retires. He gets his sons in the business, and young guys, a bunch of good looking guys, girls like them, and all this stuff. And we're at this transition period of wrestling where you had a lot of guys, like they show him in the beginning of the movie, the first guy who's champion, his name's Harley Race.
Hmm.
And I think Kevin goes up against him.
Yeah.
Harley Race is one of the most badass wrestlers ever. But you see the way he looked, he didn't look like he was the best shape,
Yeah.
but he was. He was like a big guy, but he could go. He doesn't get tired. He was just one of the best wrestlers ever, Harley Race. And that's what the wrestlers were. You were just like this old dude, beard, mustache, whatever. I'm gonna talk here. I'm gonna wear a suit. I'm gonna tell you why I'm the most badass guy. And then you have this company, Fritz, who's this old school mentality, but he was thinking outside enough the box. He was like, "Here are my sons. These young guys with long hair. The girls love them. I'm gonna have them go out. They're gonna become a team." And then he brings in this other team called the Fabulous Freebirds. I really wish they showed him more in the movie. They're in the movie for a short scene.
Yeah.
There were these three guys, and they feuded with the Von Erichs. This became the hottest feud in the world. Like literally all of professional wrestling, you wanted to see the Von Erichs beat the shit out of the Freebirds. This was the first time wrestlers came out with theme music, like
Hmm.
that was created with this feud,
Yeah.
and it was just badass. You just want to see people beat the shit out of these bad guys, and it became like the hottest thing ever. That's when it got to the point where it's like, yeah, we need to put a world title on a Von Erich because
Yeah.
they're carrying the entire fucking business. And that was a lot due to the sons and the brothers and Fritz for going outside thinking the box, and of course the fabulous Freebirds as well. So of course David Von Erich was going to be the guy. Goes to Japan, he dies, and then that's when they come back. They're like, all right, we're going for Kerry. Kerry, you're going to beat Flair, which unfortunately they don't talk in the movie. He lost the title to Flair like shortly after. It was like within a month. Flair won that
Yeah.
title right back. Um, the whole thing with the motorcycle accident,
Hmm.
that was out of place too. That didn't happen after he won the championship. He'd already lost the title to Flair. He kept on going with his career, and then
Well,
eventually he
he
gets the
lost it
motorcycle.
before, right?
In the movie, he wins the title, and then he goes out that night, gets in a car accident. It gets in a motorcycle accident.
Oh,
That's how
Oh.
it happened
because
in the
the
movie.
brother died and he got this opportunity or something like that
Yeah, because
for the
David had
belt.
died in Japan. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I
but in
guess I
real life,
misunderstood that.
yeah, no, in real life, he'd already lost the title at that point. He got in a really bad motorcycle accident, and leg, happens. The foot's amputated.
He was trying to still wrestle with one leg. That
So, fun fact: that was not known until just a couple years ago. Like
oh
nobody
wow,
fucking knew. So I remember I was reading up on it. I forgot how I came across it, and it was just like, yeah, this man made it to WWF. Vince never knew. Nobody knew. And at this point, this is like the WWF that's getting big. He
Yeah.
was called the Texas Tornado and a whole thing because WWF, they don't give him their normal names. And this man's wrestling with one foot, and nobody knows,
Yeah.
like, which is insane. But
I mean, he
yeah,
was about to be an Olympian at one point, so that makes sense. He has that mentality to keep pushing himself.
exactly. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, man,
Um. I mean,
I
it
used to
was
be a brother too. Oh man, that scene still gets me.
that scene hurts, man.
it hurts so much, bro. It really did. The movie was beautifully done. Zac Efron is a great actor. Um, all those guys were great actors, especially Fritz. Like, I mean, he was fantastic in Mindhunter. I've seen him in many other things. He's such a great actor, even though I hated him in this movie. But
Great actor.
great actor. I mean, I still love the guy. I hope I hope Mindhunters comes back at some point, which is probably never gonna happen. But it is what it is, and yeah, it was very enjoyable to watch. It was very sad, but um,
How many wrestlers did you guys recognize? There's at
uh,
least one you should have.
Zero.
yeah, Flair, obviously.
No,
Um,
I meant a wrestler portraying a character in the movie, like an actual wrestler.
oh yeah, okay, never mind, none.
The movie started off with
Zero.
Chavo Guerrero.
With Chavo Guerrero,
Chavo Guerrero started off the movie. Yeah,
who was he?
he was one of the. I think if I remember correctly, he was fighting Fritz,
Oh
or he
God,
could have been fighting Kevin, but he was just like legit. Like the movie starts with
Listen,
like
if the
Chavo's in
music
there.
didn't come on, ooh, Chavo.
So yeah, he wasn't Chavo.
I know, but still, like that
Yeah.
shit should have still played in the background somehow.
Yeah. So Chavo Guerrero's gotten to this point in his career where if you're gonna make a show, movie, anything that involves professional wrestling, you have to have Chavo Guerrero in it.
Good.
He's just like he's the one who taught the guys how to wrestle.
Hmm.
Like he was just like they even he was doing an interview. There was like what's it called? Zach Efron. So did he pick it up like when you were doing a couple movies? He's like, no. We had full matches. Like I wanted to make sure he understands how a match works, the
Yeah.
psychology of a match. So I would have a full match with him. And they're
Damn.
just like, oh shit. It's like, could he go? It's like if he's in there with somebody who can like carry him, yeah, he can have a match. He's ready. Like, oh shit. So
Damn.
that's what Chavo does. He trained
Yeah.
and he worked on heels too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like he works with these actors to the point where it's like, yeah, you're gonna learn how to wrestle. And
Yeah.
so don't make us fucking look stupid.
Yeah. Oh man, that was great.
Also, there's another Von Erich that they kind of brushed on in the movie that they didn't talk about. Lance Von Erich, the fake Von Erich.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know if you guys remember. There's this one scene where Kevin, he's at the turnbuckle. He's really sad and depressed, and he's trying to get a tag. And
Oh,
the person's
yes,
not
yes,
tagging him.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
one, that's Lance Von Erich.
The actual
Who
wrestler, Lance Von Erich.
no, that's the actual wrestler is MJF, the former AEW World Champion. He
Oh
was in
shit.
there.
Oh,
Yeah, so
okay.
that's MJF,
Maxwell
like the
Jacob.
Maxwell Jacob Friedman.
Yeah.
So how you fucking know that name, I don't know, but okay, yeah. But yeah, Maxwell
He
Jacob
remembered
Friedman.
something
I
finally.
don't know why,
I got half of it.
but yeah, he was playing Lance Von Erich, and this was around the time where like MJF quit AEW, talk shit about Tony Khan. He was filming like this little scene and working on the movie and doing other stuff. But yeah, so who Lance Von Erich was after Michael had died, David was already dead, and Kevin and Kerry were wrestling. They were like, hey, we need to get a three-man team again because we want to keep that feud alive. Let's bring in another Von Erich. They didn't have anybody else who was ready to wrestle. Chris was not ready yet. He was still training. So like, fuck it. Let's bring in this guy from out of nowhere, and we're going to make him a cousin called Lance.
Hmm.
And everybody in the area was just like, we fucking saw your family grew up. We know that there's no Lance Von Erich. So the fans are like, he's a fucking fake Von Erich. What the fuck is this? Everybody hated Lance. Lance didn't get along with the Von Erichs. It was like a whole thing. That was starting the downfall of the WCCW when Fritz was
Mhm.
trying to pull one over on his fans. It was like, no, we know there's no Lance. You can't bullshit us. We saw your family
Yeah.
grow up. Yeah.
Damn,
more.
that's wild.
Yeah.
On a
Yeah,
side
there's
note, one of the upbeat scenes that had me dying was when Kevin was on the mic doing a promo, and then the brother was in the
oh
back
yeah.
just laughing, and he just like, and then Kevin kept like stuttering, and it's just like,
Could not cut a promo, yeah.
oh my god, I was dying. It reminded me of you when you like when you're like doing your intros to the podcast or whatever. All that promo practice from the wrestling.
That works. Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, no, it's yeah, it's
It
it's like it's a weird movie. It has its high moments where it is funny and stuff joking around, but man, when it hits you, it fucking hits you.
it really does.
yeah,
Do you have
yeah.
any other fun? Well, I mean, none of them have been fun, but any more tidbits you want to share before we wrap it
Yeah,
up?
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. So we talked about everything. We talked about the other people, how they died. The sons, so Kevin's sons,
Hmm.
they're still going strong.
Thank God.
Carrie had a daughter,
Mm.
Lacey Von Erich, who wrestled many years ago. Like I'm talking like a decade ago. So she's been in the wrestling industry for a bit too. Carrie's daughter, she had mostly an impact in TNA Impact Wrestling,
Mm.
where she was on there, Lacey Von Erich. So they're like that next generation of the Von Erichs. So far, everything's worked fine. They have no issues.
Knock on wood, bro.
Yeah.
Let's keep it that way.
There was one really cool story where they were doing a documentary, not a documentary. They were doing a podcast with somebody. It might have been Jericho's, and they were interviewing Kevin and his two sons, and they're just like, "Hey, you guys are following in your dad's footsteps, your uncle's footsteps. How was it for you? Is there anything that you could take away?" He's just like, "Well, they've watched a lot of their dad wrestle their uncles, and they were just like, we learned a lot from watching Fritz more than anybody. They were just like, Fritz had that old school mentality. It's just like we try to bring that to like a modern day thing, and they try to use that mentality because Fritz was really good in the ring. He was
Yeah.
a great wrestler. But one thing they talked about was like when they were first learning how to train, they were training in Japan, and
Mm.
they were on this one rooftop where they were just like, listen, they were just like, this is really hard. When you learn how to wrestle in Japan, it's one of the hardest things in the world. Like they fucking work you,
Mhm.
and the Von Erichs, Kevin's sons, are just like, yeah, we don't know if this is for us. They went ahead, they had a match, they did what they did, it was all right. Then they went back out to the rooftop. They said that they were like on another part of that rooftop, just talking, just thinking, it's like, should we keep on going? Like, we need a sign, something to tell us, should we just keep this up or just give up and just do something else? And then etched on the wall, they saw these names that were in there, and it said Kevin and Carrie,
Oh,
because their dad and uncle had been at that rooftop many years ago when they were learning how to wrestle in Japan.
damn,
And
nice.
Kevin's just like, yeah, I remember that. I remember going on there, and we were thinking the same thing. It's like, listen, Dad wants us to go. We want to do this, but this is hard. Should we do it? We're away from home. We're all the way in Japan. And his sons was like, yeah. Once we saw that, we're like, that's the sign we needed. We're gonna do whatever
Nice.
we can. We're gonna be like one of the best fucking tag teams there is now.
Yeah.
I always thought that
That's
was a cool
awesome.
story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Great movie, man. We highly recommend going to see the Iron Claw. Go give it some support. It's a fantastic story. It's definitely different from anything that's out there right now or has been
100%.
coming out, which is a nice change of pace. Um, Beautifully done. But that's it for our review of the Iron Claw. Dan, do you have anything for us for wrestling or?
I was planning on doing it because Wrestle Kingdom happened, the
Hmm.
big New Japan Pro Wrestling thing, and I'm not gonna lie, wasn't as entertaining as I'd like it to be. So it's just like the we had a big main event.
Hmm.
Tetsuya Naito beats Sonata, becomes world champion at Wrestle Kingdom. Something that everyone's like that should have happened a couple years ago. Like Wrestle Kingdom, I think 12, no, maybe 14 actually. And yeah, so they're just like, hey, it finally happened. He had a really bad, like fucking bloody, like eyebrow. Like this man was bleeding profusely at the end.
Yeah.
But he won the world title. We had David Finley, winning like the new international championship, I believe it's called. And then he started attacking Nick Nemeth, formerly known as Dolph Ziggler in WWE.
Mm.
So Dolph made his appearance in New Japan. We're like, okay, so we know where he's going to try to wrestle now. Dolph or Nick then later on and showed up at the most recent TNA pay per view. So we got that as well. I mean, just you just see like people's like, hey, Nick Nemeth, great wrestler he left WWE. He's finally showing up in these other companies. We're gonna see where we go from there. Um, Not too much. Royal Rumble's coming up. I'm gonna be there.
Nice. Yeah,
So
in Florida,
yeah,
right?
in Florida, yeah, in Tampa.
Cool, cool, cool.
Hoping to see the return of Big E,
Hmm.
and yeah, I wish I had more
Maybe
for you.
Tupac will show up.
See, I spaced out the Big and
I
the
know.
E out of
Yeah,
respect for Big E, who's been gone for quite some time now.
yeah.
He was dropped on his head.
All right, Disco. Do you have anything for us
No.
today? Alrighty. Um, we'll keep it nice and short this week. Um, Hope you guys enjoyed our review of the Iron Claw. Again, we do recommend you guys go watch it. It's a great film, great story. Very sad story, but it's um, it's a story of perseverance for this family to keep going on like this. But thank you for listening to us Wise Guys podcast. If you like what you hear, please go follow us on social media, like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel, subscribe, hit that follow button, hit that bell. Um,
Just hit whatever you got. Just hit it.
Hit your dog, hit your cat. No, I'm just kidding.
Jesus.
Just hit everything. Um, Thank you for listening and have
Don't
a
hit your
great
pets,
week.
guys. Don't listen to this guy. Get off the mic.
You know what
Don't
you
hit
made
your
me think
pets.
of? Just real quick. There was a couple years ago, Rey Mysterio was on the cover of one of the WWE video games,
Uh huh.
and then he goes on Twitter. By the way, when Rey Mysterio tweets something, it's hilarious because he always says the wrong thing. And he
Yeah.
was just like, "Man, I can't wait to was it's like I'm on the cover of this year's game. I can't wait to get home and beat my kids."
Yeah. Yeah. Go do that, people. Go beat your kids. Thank you. They need some discipline. Thank you for listening. Have
Family
a great
bonding.
You Rey Mysterio.
week.